Welcome to Cycle Breakers and Moneymakers, a podcast for women of color and first gen who are breaking generational cycles and glass ceilings by going places no one before them has ever gone. I'm your host, leadership coach, and eldest daughter of immigrants, Mariela De La Mora. I left a 16-year marketing career to create a multiple six-figure-a-year coaching business as a single mom. Each week, you'll learn how to build unshakable self-trust, become in demand, lead with confidence, and make more money by being more of who you are. Okay, so this is part 2, where I just want to ask you all about your journey, your experience in Reclamation, like why you joined. You already, like we joked before we started recording that you were going to be like the realest person that actually really talked about their experience in the program, because I don't want to sell like the idea that like people come in and like magically everything gets solved like right away. And then all the things, it's like, yes, we've had amazing results in the program. And because it's a leadership focused program, leadership is something that's going to put you through some stuff sometimes to just be like, okay, how do I want to show up to this? What decision do I want to make about this? Which is kind of the opposite of prescriptive coaching, where they're just like, no, you have to do this. Like, this is right and this is wrong. And like, this is the formula. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, going back to when you applied and joined, I think you were like my first person that I got on a call with when I launched November 29th, 2023. It's like, and you and I had talked so much before that.
So much.
All the things. So
mile long messages, 15
in our DMs.
Voice notes in the DMs, like months.
Yeah. And this was like all before, and it was never like, we weren't having salesy conversations. We were having marketing conversations. We were having industry conversations in the DMs. So I would love to know, bring me back to when you joined Reclamation, like maybe what your perceptions were when you saw it, like that it was coming around and like all of that, like what made you join? And I'm fascinated also because you're seeing this from the lens of someone who like knows the coaching industry and is a marketer and all the things. So yeah, tell me about that.
So like you and I came into each other's world like around like 2020, I would say. Exactly. And then we've been like Insta friends for a while. Yeah. And then we finally like linked up, I think in 2023, because we're like, oh snap, we're both in the Bay. I think you moved, and then we realized we were both in the Bay, so we linked up. But so we've kind of been in each other's orbit for a while. But fun fact, you were my business bestie's dream coach. Like, her name's Stephanie.
I remember you coached her into it where you're like, if you keep talking about her and you don't sign up, you better just sign up. Don't come to me.
Every single week we were talking about you. And I was like, shut up, run her money, and join the freaking program.
Best ever. If someone's like annoyed where you're like, if you don't just go sign up.
Go sign up. Yeah. Cut her check and move on. So anyway, you were her dream coach. And that was like our first interaction. But at the time, and still now, all of your marketing was about the first gen immigrant experience.
Yeah.
And my business bestie is first gen, right?
Yes.
And so like, I very much in my mind was like, Mariela is for people that are like my business bestie, not people like me. Yeah. Like the whole woman of color component that you do talk about in your marketing just completely missed me. And so I always knew of you, liked your stuff. Obviously, my business bestie adores you. Yeah. She joined your program, loved it, had nothing but great things to say, raved about it. And then there were other people that it is that I had worked with that were in your orbit as well, and also loved working with you, loved being inside of the program. But I didn't resonate with it because like at first it was like, it felt too woo-woo. And I was like, but what am I getting? Like, what am I actually getting? And then, you know me, I'm like, well, what is it?
Yeah.
And that was like one of the big questions. And then the second thing was, I'm like, is this for me if I'm not first gen? Like, like, am I going to fit in? Also, like my business bestie, she's Haitian, but she speaks Spanish. And I just thought that like, I wouldn't fit in a room full of like Latin women, let alone like first gen immigrants. And I don't have that experience.
Even though it's so funny because I'm like, we got first gen from all the countries too. And I think that that's one thing that's unusual about a Latina coach is that usually Latina coaches attract a lot of Latinas, and we do have a lot of Latinas, but I was also like, I think it's so, I love the fact that there's so many different, like,
there are
nations represented in Reclamation.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, and then you got me, my freaking
like
black behind.
Like,
yeah. I'm like, where do I fit in? So I always was like in your orbit, but I immediately was like, from the marketing, I was like, oh, I don't think I fit in this room. Like, I don't know if I would find my place. And then, so like from 2020 to like 2023, we were in each other's orbit in that capacity, but it was kind of like, she's a dope person, but this isn't the right room for me. Yeah. And then at the end of 2023, I want to say like around October, I had like hit a wall in my business. And I was like, I'm off. Me, Kierra, is off. Like, and from some other people, that where I was in my business wouldn't have been off for them, but it was off for me. And I could sense that I was like, everything was really loud. There were like a lot of opinions in my head. I had done the traditional invest in this program, do this mastermind, pay to be in the room, get connected with the right people. Like, I had done the checklist of investing that it is that you do, you know, buying into all of that. And some things worked and some things didn't. But ultimately, by the time I got to October, I was gassed. Like, if I could equate how it is that I felt coming into your DMs and talking to you, it was literally like my car had literally ran out of gas and I was pushing it uphill. And I was like, this is the most sludgy, heavy I have ever felt.
Yeah.
And like, I'm off my game and I need a place to get back on my game. And I distinctively remember messaging you and being like, I have a bunch of things that it is that I want to do. And I don't want you telling me not to do none of them.
And because you probably had been told, don't do this, you can't do that, you know?
Yeah. And I was like, this is my world now. And I just need you to help me create this space and this identity of this person who can go after it. But I'm going to tell you what I want. I'm going to tell you what my vision is. Yeah. And if you're bought into my vision, I'll join your program. Yeah. If you're not bought into my vision, I'm out.
I remember you saying that like your vision scared you and you didn't want to like run away from it. Like you actually wanted to sit with it because you knew like what you were capable of, but like you wanted to be held to that and have a place to actually have a thought partner and like build from there. Versus going and being like, here's everything you're doing wrong. Like you need to plug in and like descriptive kind of approach, because also you were typically the outlier business model in some of the spaces that you were in before, which is also like why that probably contributed to you feeling loud in your brain, because it was like, well, this literally like doesn't apply to me.
Yeah. I was at where a lot of my clients are at, where they're at war with their business, either the business model, their offers are all over the place. Their messaging's all over the place. Like they're in constant friction with their business, and business just feels hard, and selling feels hard. Yeah. And signing clients feels hard. And that's where it is that I was at. And I knew, because I consult people on the same thing, that like something foundationally had broken. Yeah. And I just needed to wipe the slate clean and build from my brain out. Yeah. And
brain out. I really love that.
Yeah.
And actually, this is who gets the best results.
It's
not somebody who comes as, and I don't actually think that's a particularly empowering way to show up to any coaching program, because what happened, and I'll use the term empty vessel, not that the person is an empty vessel, but when you come in as an empty vessel, meaning like a blank slate, being like, tell me what I should be selling, tell me what I should be doing, tell me, that's like, again, like where you could be talking to a consultant. Yeah. I find that the people who have done the best are the people who are like, I actually have stuff that I have been dismissing, hiding, second guessing, but I actually have it.
Yes.
Or I'm like, and this feels off. Can you help me figure it out? Because it's already under there. And then I'm really good at doing that. That's literally what I did as a marketer, was like, I used to relaunch things and not change the offer very much. Yeah. It was more how we positioned it, who we were speaking to, the stories we told around it, and how we branded it. So it's like finding the gold in it, but like with your vision. Yeah, exactly. And I had a vision, but I knew that I was intimidated by it. And I just knew that I needed a place to kind of like clean up, essentially. Like I had
yeah, I had lost my way, and I wasn't really looking for someone to tell me what to do. I just more so was just looking for someone to give me space to think up whatever my idea was. And I had heard that the community that you cultivated was just off the chain. I mean, that was like, because I vetted like the program so much. I mean, I read every...
This is why I really love it, because I'm like, when you come and ask me the questions, I'm like, come ask me the questions. You're going to love it so much more if you come and you ask me the questions. Because I'm going to tell you, and I'm not the person that's like, let me overcome the objections. I'm just going to be like, here's what it is. Here's who does best in the program. Here's what I think about your particular situation. Here's actually how I would think about it as of right now, if you were to join.
Yeah.
And like, I'm telling you that almost so that it's like, if you're bought into that, this is the right place for you. If this feels like this makes you even more anxious and unsure, then it's not the place for you.
Yeah. Yeah. The number one thing that I heard was like, yeah, the community's great, but like everyone was like, Mariella as a person is a really good person. Mm-hmm. And I was like, if I could, that was like the overwhelming theme. And I was like, if we got that, then any bump I might hit, we could overcome if she's a really good person, you know? And then I met you.
I've never heard anybody say that. And then I'm like, I almost feel like that would never be sold as like a benefit of like the coach is a really good person and people like, you know, respect them, because it's always like, oh, it's about the offer. But it's like, well, it depends what you're holding someone's hand through. Like what you're helping them navigate is, do you actually, like that does matter in terms of like, do I trust them? Do I feel like they have my best interest at heart? Like, do I feel like they would be honest with me? And like,
all of that. Like even, I mean, I think of it like a relationship, right? Like, if you date a guy and you're like, okay, he's got all these things that, you know, he gets on my nerves and he has these pet peeves, but like at his core, he's a really good person. And like at his core, we're friends.
That's so true. Like, oh my God.
If our core is good, then like when you do the pet peevy stuff or you really hurt me or X, Y, and Z, then like, the goal is that we'll find our way back together. Yeah. And we'll talk about this later in the episode, but like my experience inside the program wasn't all peaches and cream. And I had my bumps, but like our core was good. You were a good person. We shared a lot of the same values. I went out to dinner, to lunch with you.
Yeah. Like, that was like the funnest. Like we were there for like 3 hours, and I remember
3 hours.
Like, I've just heard you guys talking, like, and it's like been uninterrupted. Like we were like nonstop. They brought the check and everything, and he's like,
literally,
I think that's so great. I think that's really nice. And I was like, we genuinely like love being in each other's presence and like admire each other. And I actually can say that I feel like I somehow have managed to like attract people that I think are just genuinely fucking incredible people. That I think there's something about that messaging that I think I attract people that are also like, they think highly of themselves and they just want to be seen in that way, not as some helpless person that needs fixing. They just need guidance. Yeah. And they need to be heard.
Yeah, for sure. And so I was like, okay, if she can be my friend and I can kick it with you and go to dinner with you and we can have like real life conversations that are beyond business, I'm like, all right, we can get over whatever potential things that might not click for me inside of this program. Yeah. Right. And so like, if there is a problem, I know that I can address it. Same thing with like my husband, we're best friends.
Yeah.
When we have a bump, it's fine. Cause at the end of the day, like we're still really, like we still have each other's best interests at heart. We're best friends, you know?
It's so funny. It makes me think about when Kat was giving me dating advice against my will, like a year ago, we were all in Nashville. We were all in Nashville at Stacey's, like Stacey Bayman's like $2 million group, like live event, whatever. And we were just talking because like she's talking to me and Erica about something. And she's just like, you know what, you guys, I just think, because we had all these criteria and like standards, which is not a bad thing. She's like, you just need to find someone who is a good person.
Friend.
Like,
good person.
She's just like, y'all are not always going to like each other. You're going to change. Like it's all the things. She's like, but somebody who other people have great things to say about them. It's almost like a social credit report.
Yeah.
And I think it's not talked about enough in terms of like when you're hiring somebody as well, especially if it's something that is less consulty and prescriptive. And there's obviously in any coaching program, there's always guidance and answers and to whatever extent, but it's like, what is their social like credit report?
Yeah.
Like, with dating, she was like, what do people say? Like, does he have like childhood best friends and like people who have such wonderful things to say about them? And it's like, oh yeah, it just made me think about that. So
yeah, like what's the core? If the core is good, we can figure the rest out. Yeah. Yeah. And that's really how I felt coming into Reclamation is I was like, I don't resonate all the way with the marketing, but I've specifically told her exactly what it is that I'm looking to get out of it. She's given me her feedback and not all of it was like, yeah, you're going to come in and slay in my program. Like you were very honest and real of like,
because we were talking about like, okay, this offer suite, I was just like, all right, well, we're going to have to like look at we're going to have to look at this. Like, it might need a little bit of time in diagnosing in order to figure out like what is actually going to be that meets existing market demand and that you also want to sell, and that it's a business model that actually aligns with you, because there were different pieces that had to do that. But for sure, yours was the complete opposite of any cookie cutter, like sweet, because you were not talking about coaching.
No.
So
no,
that's
I had never seen anyone have my offer that it is that I had.
Yes.
Matter of fact,
and also someone who gets your offer, because I think one thing you're like, people don't even really understand.
No.
Because they didn't know what marketing is, what marketing consulting is, what marketing deliverables are, and like all those things. So it's like, that's almost where the consulting brain can come in on my part of just like, I've worked with a lot of different businesses. So I don't think in coach speak. I am a coach, but I spent 40 years of my life not being a coach.
Yeah.
I don't think in those terms. Okay. You were like, I don't really resonate with the messaging, like the first gen, because you're not first gen. You're just like, I don't want to, you're not buying it for the touchy feely, but you just wanted to be seen. You wanted something that was going to listen to you, hold your vision, walk with you, and be like, okay, like, let's figure this out.
Yeah. And I also wanted to be around good-hearted people. And I was like, if everyone loves this coach, then, and people are saying all the same things about her specifically, and then they're saying those things about the people that she's in the room with. I'm like, if I can just get around the good, then, and at the core is good, then we can work on what other pieces that I'm not connecting with.
That makes sense.
So that's how it is that I came into it. And then I told you the specific goals that it is that I had. We had like a mile-long conversations over a span of weeks inside of the DMs.
Yeah.
Like to the point where like Instagram was like, you've reached your message limit. Like I can't send. And I would send like 15 voice notes back to back. Then we got on a sales call. That sales call went over because I had a million questions. Like I came, when I say I vetted.
Yeah.
I came.
I love that you're talking about vetting, because I'm like, no, vet me.
Yeah,
right?
I did. Yeah.
I want you to vet me because I will have answers for you. They may not be the answers that align with you, but I'm not going to bullshit the person. You know what I mean? Because there's like, out of respect, I'm going to be honest with every person to the best of my ability. And now I've learned a lot this round as well, which allows me to be even more like honest, but okay.
So that's how we started. That's how we started.
And so with that, tell me a little bit about, kind of to whatever degree you want to share, like how would you sort of describe, you described a little bit about where you were at the beginning in terms of like feeling really disconnected, like you felt like you were out of gas, your voice was really loud, like all the things. Tell me a little bit about like the journey that you went through on the program and where your business is now and where you are now, like how you see yourself.
Yeah. So I came in very much like a sponge of like, well, because we had already set the tone that like the people in the room were like good-hearted people, I kind of came in with like a very open like heart of like, okay, this is a safe space, because I had already vetted that space before I stepped into it.
Yeah.
So then when we went to the Reclamation event in February, I came with like the biggest like open heart, like open-minded, like, whatever. And then there were like, I just remember coming into it being like, I'm going to be 150% myself because I want to get 150% out of this.
Yes.
So like I came in and hit the gas, and people are like, you lit up the room. Like there wasn't a time that I didn't walk in the room that people didn't, but I was like, I'm going to meet everybody.
Yep.
I'm going to work the hell out this room. I'm going to
ask questions.
I'm going to ask questions.
Which ended up being one of people's favorite parts, where they were just like, you don't need to teach, could you just coach? And I was like, okay, this is like my favorite part. I was like,
I was like, what is this presentation? Why are we presenting? I was like, can you just coach me?
I hate everybody in Nashville, because I was in Nashville the week before the Reclamation live event. Kat and Erica, because we were at the Stacey's event. That's like all I talked about. I was just like, oh my gosh, I still have to get these slides together. And it's because I'm not a slides person. Some people coaches are excellent teachers, like go and like step by step. I'm just like the best coach. Like if you just give me a thing, like I will just coach you through it, which is why I was just like, that felt so hard. And when we transitioned into coaching, I was like, oh, thank God, like I could coach. And then I come up with analogies on the spot. So I'm glad you were the person who asked the question that we turned it into a session, like a live coaching session. And then others started asking.
You asked something at the end of like day one or midway through day one. And I was like, I can't get there yet till I get my coaching questions asked.
That makes sense.
And I was like, I can't follow wherever you're trying to take me until I have, because I bottled it all up from.
I think that makes sense.
So I came with a list of stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at the slides. I'm like, yo, just coach me.
Yeah. That's what we did day 2. It's like, okay, there's some foundational stuff, but I think I'm also just like realizing, and this round taught me so much too, because it's like, it was a 19-person like case study, right?
Yeah.
Of like different people learn differently, but I'm also just like, no, when I just show up and like people show up to the calls and they stay, and it's like not, and they don't just leave as soon as their question is answered, which is very different. In other groups, they'll get their question answered and they'll peace out. People will just show up and listen the whole time and they won't leave. And like the calls go long, and you know, not everybody stays for like forever. But I was like, I think there's something to be said of like, sometimes the best thing you can do is just be in a room and know you're going to get coached.
Yeah, exactly.
Even
Exactly.
If you're not, like a curriculum person, and like, you know, it's not always going to be a curriculum question answer.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely came into it. And this would be the recommendation that I would make to anybody who's listening to this, is like, come into it knowing what it is that you want. Yeah. And I understand that everyone may not be like, ironically, I'm an introvert, but when I'm at these events, I present as an extrovert. Mm-hmm. But I understand everyone may not be like, have like as big of a boisterous or personality as I am. They may be a little bit more reserved. They may not have the same presence as I have, but I would say come into it knowing exactly what it is you want to get out of it. Came into it knowing that I was going to give it 150%. And then I also wanted to walk away with 150%. And when I felt like I wasn't getting that, I'd raise my hand and be like, yo, I have a question about X, Y, and Z. Yeah. And I want to be able to get that answer today. And
That's also why you've been able to do what you've done though. Because I think about everybody that has gotten the results that they've gotten. I'm like, they showed up and then they were like, hey, this is like, I'm having a hard time here. Or like, hey, you can coach me through this. Or they're like, hey, I did this. Here's what happened. Like they're just bringing stuff to me and we're voice noting in Slack. Like we're riffing and we're going back and forth. So I'm like, you're going to get it. But you, like when you're bringing it to me.
Yeah, you have to be an active participant in getting the result that you have to know what result you want.
Yes.
So that you understand what you're going after.
That's important, and also not always thought about. Like when people are like, they don't actually know what they want, it'll just be like, I don't know, I want to feel more confident in myself, or I want to really believe. And it's like, yes. And then like, what does that actually mean? Like in terms of what are you going to be bringing? Like you got to be reporting. And you're not going to annoy me ever. I'm just going to be like, no, please bring it. Even whenever people are like, oh, I'm so sorry, like this voice note was this long. My private clients will say that too. And I'm like, I literally never have that thought. Yeah. Because it's so helpful to me. I can listen to everything and piece together the whole story in your voice.
Yeah, same.
I don't care.
Yeah, same.
I'm like, no, bring it to me. It never feels like it's like too much. If someone's like not asking me a question, if you're just like going off, I'm like, tell me if there was a question in there, if you just wanted to share. But that's because sometimes that's the case. But I'm like, you can bring it. Almost can feel like, I want it to feel sometimes like if you were being able to pick up the phone and like talk to your one-on-one coach. Granted, like it's a mastermind, but it's like you should be able to feel like you can just like talk through something.
Yeah. Ideate. Yeah. Okay. So I definitely came into the program like that, just knowing that I wanted to soak everything up and get plugged in and get connected with the right people. And then I would say from there, it was just a matter of, I left the Reclamation retreat knowing that I wanted to, as we were talking about, land the plane. Like I was like, for the last, because we signed in November and then we didn't meet until February. And so what is that? November, December, January. So that's been about like
November 29th through like December 12th. And then so like we went into Christmas and then we had January and we didn't actually like get started till like February 3rd or something. So it was like a little bit of a wait.
Yeah. So I had like about 3 months worth of questions and I didn't really want to go full throttle on them until I had someone to process them with.
Makes sense.
So I knew that I wanted to leave Reclamation very clear on what it is that I was going to do for the rest of the year and stepping into some things. And so I did. I left with a clear offer suite and we went full throttle on it. And I spent February through August going like hitting the gas on that one offer. And I was like, I'm not going to flip flop. I'm not going to change the messaging. I'm not going to change the offer. I'm just going to go ham on this one note about data and how it can help you double your sales.
And becoming known.
Yeah. And becoming known for that. And some parts of that worked and some parts didn't. The parts that worked were that like I got all the positioning, I got all the recognition, I did become known. I worked with Geneva and she was my PR manager and she pitched me for all those topics. And that opened the door for me to become this expert on marketing data, which is awesome. What didn't work is that the offer didn't sell. And that was really hard because as the offer was not selling, my income was slowly declining and my reserves were eating up. And then that was like the point where I was just like, what the frick is happening? Like
but you came with it.
Yeah. And I was like, Mariella,
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a booked out in-demand thought leader right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, I've shown up to all the calls.
Yep.
I've got all the coaching. I've delivered all the reports. I'm locked in. I'm doing all the steps. And mind you, these are not prescriptive steps. These are steps that I created from my brain. So it's not like I was following some process, some cookie cutter process that you laid out for me and it's not working. It was just like, I am iterating and responding and doing all the things and no one is buying my offer.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought into this, yes, because I wanted a safe space to become a leader and to craft my own ideas. But I also want to be the booked out in-demand marketing leader that was in the messaging. And I'm like, what's happening? Like, this is like not clicking. And we had that conversation. And from there, we were able to kind of get on the same page. And then things turned around like 6 weeks later.
What was the biggest shifts that you, like, looking back now, like, what were the shifts that you made that allowed you to have the offers that you have now? And then I want you to tell me about what's going on now.
Yeah. So the number one shift is I stopped arguing with how my consumer buys my products.
Yeah. So not trying to change their behavior. Like,
I stopped trying to
convince them. So there was no convincing. You're just like,
no.
What are you willing, like, what are you, like, agreeing that you need and you're agreeing that you're struggling with right now that you also can deliver? And it's like, boom, done.
Yes. I just followed their brain and believed what they thought marketing was and sold the solution that they believed they needed.
Mm-hmm.
And then inside my container, they realize they get what it is that they asked for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't ever do a okey doke of like, I'm gonna sell you this. And then inside you get something different. They get what it is that they're asking for, but then they're able to work up to, I see now the importance of data. I see now X, Y, and Z. And that relationship, I wasn't getting that off of the rip. It was like too difficult to explain to the coaching industry, the concept of data in the way that it is that I was teaching it. There was just so much conflict. There was so much friction between my ideal buyer and the topic that it is that I was discussing. And normally I was explaining this to my husband, who's also a marketer, is that you can do marketing like that, where you are introducing a new concept into the market. Like Elon Musk, right, is introducing, like, really put, I would say, electric vehicles on the map.
And then you're selling to early adopters and then, like, expanding from there. So essentially, like, there isn't going to necessarily be like a widespread change of behavior where people are going to all of a sudden start acting differently. Like, you have to know that you're going to be selling to people who are early adopters and then from there, like, building it out.
Yes. But also you have to have the money to have the time to hold that space between the time that you eat up all your early adopters, which are going to be the first, that's going to be your first year of sales. Yeah. And then you have to be able to sustain something, have money. Now, if you're a billionaire like Elon Musk, you have the money, but you have to be able to hold that positioning until it funnels to the rest of the population.
Until it becomes more commonplace. I would say it's like the difference between if there were two faucets and then you had to turn it on, and it's like the effort of turning on the faucet versus putting your cup on the faucet that's already open, is like identifying, like, demand exists where there's awareness. Like, there's a need, because there could be a need and not awareness.
Yes, there's lots of that. Yeah,
you were selling to a need, but they just didn't agree. And there's an audience who had the same need for data in launching, but I was like, these would be like startups, and startups agree that they need data because they need data for VC funding, and all they care about is data. So I was like, if you were to sell that, I think that you need to not be anywhere near this audience, going into accelerators and like wherever VC and startups are, because they know we need data. So it's like that was one thing where I was like, I'm always willing to get in it with you to just be like, let's actually think about who you're selling, what you're selling. Are they ready to buy it? Do they agree that this is what they need? Is this the right audience? Versus, do you have people knocking on your door right now who would pay you? What are people willing to pay you for right now? And then can you craft around that? And then you were like, people are like willing to throw money at me to solve this problem, and I can do it fine. And so then, which turned into like your content, your done for you content, which also you realized, I think as well, that nobody else was consulting along with creating content for people. They were designing, which is not the same, repurposing, which is not the same. Yeah. And so like finding, you actually were sitting on a gold mine, something of demand where you didn't have to convince people, and you didn't have to go find a new audience for it either.
Well, you know what's crazy is I got a call. People don't call me, but Karina called me. And she called me in July. So I'm in the middle of this funk Okay. Karina's my one-on-one consulting client. I'm in the middle of this. I met her actually at Reclamation.
Yeah. Yeah. She's one of my best friends, but she was like the MC at Reclamation, was literally like, Mariela, do you want me to go to Mexico and like, I can help and like, I can, and I was like, yes, oh my God. So I'm so glad you guys met there.
Yeah.
I love the two of you together. Just like, I love the two of you individually, but I was like, the two of you together, it's just like, this is like.
The gag is, right? Okay. So this is just like pre-content. This is just like a little detour that we're going to take. Okay. I talked to Mariela and we were talking and she was like, just so you know, it came in it was in a conversation that we were having. It wasn't like something you just randomly said, but like in a conversation, I can't remember the context, but you were like, just so you know, my audience is probably not going to be the ideal person for your CMO offer or for your one-on-one consulting offer. Mm. So like, I don't see Reclamation being a space for you to get clients, but it will be a space for you to get connected with people and like all of these other things and like the life stuff that it is that I was looking for. And I was like, okay. I was like, okay, cool. Right. I remember saying to myself, I'm going to this retreat and I'm walking away with a client, period. And I was like, I don't know who the person is. So yeah. So when you came in, so I remember coming in and being like, I already know that her people are not going to be my clients, but her friends are here. One of them's mine.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm converting somebody this weekend. It ended up being Karina. And it just happened to be a match.
And my people who are like, when you talk about the stuff you talk about, I'm like, that's literally what we complain about all the time. So I was like, I could tell you how we've tried to solve it. I could tell you what we've thrown money at. I could tell you how we've tried to solve it in coaching. I could tell you all the things. So that was an exciting side benefit of just like, if I personally know something, I'm going to be like, hey, let's talk about this. Here's my introduction. And so I wanted to ask you about this, of being able to bring things to calls and having like, let me work through this. Let me workshop this. And then, because there's been instances where you have brought stuff and then actually some of Reclamation clients did become your clients.
Yeah, they did become my clients. But I think
your offer suite.
My mindset, what I would say to someone who's listening to this, if you're coming into this, you have to have the mindset that you want the ROI and you're going to get your ROI come hell or the high water, right? And I came into it like, all right, I've vetted this as much as I can vet it. And I came into that retreat with my game face on. I was like, I'm going to get connected. Everybody's going to walk away knowing exactly who I am. Everyone's going to walk away knowing exactly what it is that I do. And one of her friends is going to walk away being my client. I don't care which one it is, but one of them, I know exactly how to solve their problem, their number one content problem. And I'm walking away with something. And I ended up working with Karina. Fast forward to July, I'm on no sales. I'm like coming to the call. I'm like, it's rough around these streets. Okay. And she calls me and she's like, yo, Kay, like, tell me what it is that you think about this, like emails. Like, I feel like I should be getting into emails. Like, what do you think about emails? And I was like, you definitely should be doing emails. I gave her my 2 cents. And I was like, first of all, I'm just shocked you called me. Like, people don't call people these days. She's like, everyone's always so surprised I call. She calls. Yeah, I think it's so sweet. She's like, everybody's so surprised we call.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so we chat and I'm like, emails. And she was like, do you do that? Like, do you write emails? Cause she was like, you just know me so well at this point. Like, I just feel like I should just, just give it over to you. And I was like, we write emails. I was like, I have a writer in the studio. Like, yeah, sure. And she's like, all right, cool. She was like, I don't want really anything fancy. I don't really want like, she was like, just give me some emails. I'm like, how many you want? She's like, I want, this is so hard. She's like, I just want a couple, I just want to shoot people out like, 3-4 times a week, whatever. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, we'll do you some emails. I sent her an invoice. She signs. Boom. We get the emails going. That was the start of me bringing back the content retainer.
Yeah. And I also remember us talking at the end of the second live event at the end of July, and the last bit, it wasn't even a coaching event, but you were like, can I ask a question? And I was like, sure. Yeah. And the end of that conversation being like, what if you were selling what you didn't have to convince people, like what are people willing to pay you for right now? What is that? And then content came up and I was like, okay. And then I didn't realize we had already had the conversation with Karina, but that was like, it makes sense.
No, I think I had it after. I think I had it after. That was a turning point because I remember saying to you, that was in July. I remember saying to you, I'm like, it's not working. Like, and I need money now. That's what I remember saying.
I was like, if you need money now, you need to sell what people are willing to pay you for now. We can't do all this problem awareness. We can't be trying to change people's minds. We had to just be like, you need that? I got you.
Yeah. I was like, my reserves are bye-bye. Period. And like, I'm down and out. And you were like, okay, what's the thing that you can, like, literally what you just said, what's the thing you can sell? And I was like,
what are people willing to, like, they're literally like, I want to pay you.
Yeah, I was like, content's the thing that was always the easiest for me to sell. it flies off the shelf. Like it
So I was like,
flies
and
off the shelf.
you were like, oh, it was so easy. And sometimes when something you feel like, yeah, but it can't be that. Like it has to be something else. And I'm just like, yeah, but if you could do it in your sleep and people are willing to pay you for it, like we need to go there. And if we're trying to do something else, like let's do it from a place of like your reserves being funded.
Expansion. Yes.
It's like monthly recurring revenue coming in. Like let's get you paid
Yes.
first now. Because sometimes when I see, and I still coach on this in Reclamation, where people see what other people are doing and then they want to go and they're like, well, I want to work with organizations. And I'm just like, okay, but if you're not happy with how you're getting paid right now, we don't need to go create a new revenue stream. Let's go to what are people willing to pay you for today so we could get you paid now. And then from overflow, we could do all the other things. But that's the thing. Okay. So I'm glad that you said that. Tell us now. Tell us about what's happening now. How have things shifted since?
So I switched my offer suite from this high ticket project-based package with data consulting, all of that, to be more retainer style. And we'll talk about the life component decisions that came into that as well. But basically, I wanted to see what would happen if I started having people invest in my offers, not necessarily like they would a coach where they pay like 20 grand upfront, but if the lifetime value of my client was 20 grand, but they came in at a particular hourly rate based on how they viewed buying marketing solutions. So since people were saying to me, oh, I can't afford X, Y, and Z a month based off of the prices that it is that I pay my OBM, my podcast manager, my blah, 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 I thought of how can I price my services in this category where they see me as their team member as opposed to this external consultant coach that it is that they invest in.
Because the behavior of hiring team members is a pre-existing behavior.
Exactly. And
hiring consultants in the a lot of people are like, we don't do that. Like I must need to go ask my coach. Like I'm not gonna go in. Literally. So I basically stopped arguing with the client's mindset of where it is that they were at. And I was like, I'm just going to give you what the people are asking for. Then when Karina called and validated the question about email, I was like, all right, this might actually be a thing. And I created the offer and started selling it. And then I started getting inquiries for it. And then it was just off to the races from there. And it was incredible, the results, because everyone started, because the base was more retainer style, designed to be longer longevity as opposed to one big large lump sum that people had to commit to. What ended up happening was people would come in at a 3-month retainer for $500 for their emails. And then they would end up stacking on all of these other services that it is that I had. And so my entry level rate that I was making off of a person was lower than what I was initially charging before, but the lifetime value of the client over time, and then
I'm making now
that work together as bridges.
Exactly. And all my offers are integrated. So you can easily float from, it's like having an Apple phone and then having an iPad and an Apple Watch and a they all go together. And once you get one, then you want all of them synced. And so that's what's been happening is that like I help people build their offers in the membership. Then they're like, oh, well, now that you built the offer for me, I want you to help me sell the offer. Then we sell the offer. Then after we're selling the offer, they want me to consult on the offer. So then we're consulting on the offer. Then after that gets to a good place, they're like, ooh, now I want the data. So then so it's like, they're just like all
of like not creating offers as islands. So I'll say that whenever people are like, I want to do this. And I'm like, it isn't about what we want to do. We say that we want to do it, but like, what is the part of the journey? Like, we don't want to attract a different person who's going to just buy that thing. And then they don't have a journey to go for the rest of it. Otherwise you're going to be working so much harder. You're literally going to have different audiences to just sell something that doesn't lead into anything else. So what are some of the things now that when you can say like, okay, you went from kind of figuring out like, okay, what is the offer suite that's going to like get me booked out, that's going to have the recurring revenue, that's going to have the clients, like what are some of the, you mentioned it in a previous episode, but like some of kind of the markers of now that you're sitting in, you talked about retention rate, you talked about like anything you want to share just around like your results now.
Yeah. So I would say the lifetime value of my clients are now in the 5 figures as opposed to me starting at 5 figures. So that's number one. Is that the
5-figure lifetime value? It's so funny. When you think about selling 5-figure trust, it could be lifetime value or it could be upfront. It depends on the business model.
Yes. So now I have 5-figure clients, but it's a lifetime value as opposed to an entry late initial sign, which is a really good note for those of you who are not in a place where it is that you want to charge high ticket, or you have an offer or an agency like mine where you want to serve a little bit more people than you would in a high ticket retainer. That works for you as well. So that's
especially
number
if you
one.
think you have to be a coach to make that much.
Yeah.
Well, because sometimes people think like you have to be a coach or you need to be whatever. And it's like, no, not necessarily. Not if you put yourself on someone's shopping list. Like essentially the thing is already on their shopping list. Content is on everybody's shopping list. If you're an entrepreneur, it's on there. Are you trying to are you trying to get yourself on someone's shopping list when you weren't already? Or are you trying to be like, I could solve you that. That's already on your shopping list.
Yep.
I can help you with that. They're already shopping. So I feel like that's what you did. So I feel like with anybody that's like a service-based provider as well, it's just like, we're not trying to change behaviors. What are they already shopping for?
What are they shopping for?
Build it from there. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have like 5-figure more like lifetime value, your retention rate. Like tell us a little bit about what it could look like.
The retention went from literally 0 to 80%.
That's amazing.
Which was incredible. It had I've always had great client results, but people treated my offers like drive-bys, and they were structured to, I come in, I solve your problem, and then they would leave because their problem was solved. And now I'm solving problems that are reoccurring. And so they're sticky and we're always evolving. And that's not a way of saying that like I am creating a problem that always needs solving. It's more so like people just always need content. Like people just always
problems. Once you've solved that one, they have a new one or a new desire.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us also, I want to hear from your perspective, like how does somebody's life change as far as the community? Like, cause I feel like that could be pretty abrupt in a good way. Yeah. Depends on what you're looking for, but like, what has it been like to be plugged into the reclamation community?
The community is the accelerator. So like the thing for me that I saw that was the most valuable was like for some people, it will be like, I felt seen, I learned so much from hearing other people's stories, or like, it was just nice to not feel like I was the only one. I'll keep it 100 with you. Like
I know that was not
my experience.
Like, I'm not here for this feelings experience, but I love how you not to say like how you leverage the community, but I want people to know that as well, because I think, yes, it's great to have community that's like, I feel seen, I'm not alone, and I have a safe space. And it's also community around the actual masterminding, which is the definition of a mastermind is minds come together and the collective knowledge is greater than any one individual and the relationships that you build with people. So like, tell us how the community impacted you. Like, tell us about the community. Like, what is it like a day in the life? Like, what is it like now, and how it helped you?
So my experience with the community might've been a little bit different than other people, right? So number one, like I was just saying, the community as a whole wasn't something that I plugged into, but I got plugged into certain individual people, and those people were on my speed dial list. Yeah. Like when I tell you, I call her Low Money. Her name's Lorraine. I don't know if any of you guys are ever going to get a chance to meet her, but like when I tell you, I literally talk to her multiple times a week. Oh. And at some point when I was at my lowest, I was talking to her every day. Like Danny, my ace, like I talk to them all the time, and they were able to fill in all the gaps that don't necessarily get solved on a call or in a Slack message with the coach. So there's, a 90-minute to 2-hour call once a week. And then there's obviously Slack, right? And then there's, of course, mediums in between that. But having a speed dial list of people that you can clock into on Voxer, dump a note, whatever. Yeah. The amount of back and forth and workshopping. So like, I really was working on my business all week. Like it wasn't just on the call. It was like, there were some things I didn't even take to you because I just took it to the girls and already had it answered. I didn't need to come get coached. Yeah. I had already got already figured it out, or I'd already processed it with somebody else. Yeah. And so I just came to the call and I was like, oh, I only have this one thing, or this is just an update or whatever. So I just
didn't come more confused though. Cause sometimes what happens is, how to ask for community feedback, where I think sometimes people ask 50 people and then they're like
confused,
but you were just like, I'm going to workshop with it because this is going to help me hear myself think more clearly. Then by the time you came to me, you were like, this is what I want to do. Here's why I thought about it. And then you asked me like very specific questions where you were like, is there anything that I'm not thinking about? Which is also funny enough. This is how I ask for coaching. I get such better coaching because I don't ask, tell me what to do questions. And so I'm able to be like, okay, can I ask you a little bit about how you arrived at this? Okay, cool. That makes sense. And then we just went from there. But it makes sense because you said by the time I come to calls, like I've been got coached like all week, you know, and like
all week. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All week. Yeah. So that was how it is that I use the community. There were, how do I want to say it? There were very few situations that people would discuss on the calls that I related to, but the people individually I connected with, if that makes sense.
Like, I feel like life situations were like very different, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we got a lot of first gens. We have a lot of social justice people, former like, educators. We got some moms, you know what I mean? Like all of that. But then you're saying like, this is like their identities, but then it's like them as people.
Yes. Like we're not gonna like, for example, like Michelle or Patty, they're geniuses, right? But they run very different business models than the one that is
very.
So like, we're not going to trade
secrets. We're not going to just be like, how do you get these organizational, like 6-figure organizational contracts? You know what I mean?
Right. Like we don't have anything in common there.
That's the thing is, I think like you're like, when you're really smart, you come into like a really smart room, you're just like they just help you think about it differently. Cause I feel like I hear your conversations sometimes and I'm like, this is just such a brilliant room that I'm like, they could solve anything. Like y'all.
Literally. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like Michelle and I have gotten together and we've chatted far beyond like the scopes of just like when she comes into town, we've hung out. Right.
Yeah.
And so like, we can talk about business, even if she's not giving me direct advice about my business, or we're not trading business secrets.
Right.
Our businesses have literally nothing to do with each other, but like, we're just both smart business women and can ideate and talk about those things.
Yes.
And so, you know, that has been what's really beneficial, is like to be able to just plug into the individual people and get what it is that I need to get out of it. And I keep saying this, but like, you really do have to come into it knowing what it is that you want, because that is what directed me to plug into this person here, this person here, this person here, is because I knew exactly what it is that I needed and who I felt like could help me get those results.
I'm glad you're saying that, because I think this is really a sense of like, I'm going to show up regardless, but the people who are like bringing me things, like we'll move through it so much faster. And this doesn't mean every week, all the time, but you may be in seasons where you're just like, hey, here's what happened. Hey, here's what I'm thinking. And then we're able to move through it. And it's not just me, but like I said, like going in the community. So you could be in a community and then also still like, I'm like, if you come into Reclamation and you don't like develop close relationships and like talk to people, that's absolutely like a choice. You know, maybe it's capacity or whatever, but it's like, this is a room where like you will be received, you will be heard. And that's important to practice too, where it's just like, no, like the community is also going to help you see things in a mirror in a way that no individual person can.
Yeah.
So, okay. I love that. Yeah. I wanted to ask you just anything else around like either if someone is thinking about joining and who you think is like a good fit for the room, and anything else that you want to keep in mind, or anything about your experience that you haven't shared that you're just like, this is something that I was looking for and this is what I got, anything along the lines that you haven't already shared.
The way that I would describe this program, and I was kind of talking about it with my husband about this, was, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Limitless.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie? Yeah. Okay.
It's been a while.
Okay. But basically,
was it like he took something and then it helped him unlock a part of his brain?
Yeah. So like there's these pills that he discovers, he gets on, right?
Yeah.
And he's taking these pills. And then there comes a point in the movie where he has trained his body, trained his mind to think like that without the pills. And so like now he no longer has a limit. He is limitless, right? And that is how it is that I feel after being in this program. Is that like, I genuinely don't need nobody for nothing. Like, you know what I mean? I really don't. Yeah. Whoever I hire, it's because I want to, or because I know exactly what it is that they can do for my business. And honestly, I'm really at the place now where I'm more so hiring team members and building out the agency in a scope where I needed to. But this is the first time in my business where I feel like I can sell and market and run my business because I have the foundational tools to be able to do it and to hear my brain come up with an answer.
Yes.
As opposed to me being hooked on a product. I am no longer hooked on the creamy coachy crack. Okay.
Oh, not the creamy coachy crack.
I am
you gotta level up to the next room and you gotta be
I'm off the stuff. I'm officially off the stuff.
I love that.
I'm off the stuff and it feels so freaking good. to be like, I don't have to look for another it thing to fix my business.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really don't. And anything that it is that I do would be from a place of expansion or desire. It wouldn't be from a, I need it.
Yeah.
And that's a really, really freaking good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it took some really low lows. It took some really hard months. It took being plugged into a community that held me down when I was like crying in Boxer and was like, you know, really, really struggling, and some no sale months and like some tough conversations with my coach. And like, it took real work to get here. Like, this was not like I came into the program in 90 days.
Here. I will say it's like they all have those stories, and then y'all that had the like, oh shoot, I don't know, it was like getting kind of rough there, and it was some dark times. But that's how that confidence, that assuredness, that I know I'm going to be okay no matter what. That I know that I could add, like the way that I think is different now comes from that.
Yeah,
and you navigating that. So it's like, that isn't the prettiest picture. And it's not to say everybody's going to go through this, but I think the people who are willing to and are like, I actually want to be in a room that's going to hold me through this, because I know in the end, I'm going to not be dependent. I want people to, at the end of the 12 months, be like, I feel good. I don't even know, you know what I'm saying? And if they resign, they're doing it because they're like, I unlocked another level now that I want to bring to Mariella.
Well, exactly.
Not because they're like, but what am I gonna
do?
Like, I don't want you to think that.
Exactly.
Exactly. Like, it's a leadership program primarily, and we do talk marketing, but I want you to understand what marketing means. That marketing is not webinars, it's not social media. It's how you get your work out into the world. And so I want the person to be transformed. Like, I want you to be a different person and feel like you can hold that person down and that she isn't slipping through your fingers either. You know what I mean? So
I mean, like, I'll never forget this. Like, over Christmas break, your office was closed for like, I think 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that, for the holiday break. But I remember I made so many business decisions over Christmas.
Yeah.
And I finalized all of them. There was not a single thing that I was like, oh, I got to wait until I come back. So we get, like, I just moved. I was like, oh, this is not working. Okay, move. This is not, fill this gap. I need this here, blah, blah, blah. And I like made all of these decisions on my own. And I didn't have that. My brain was too, I think everyone has that skill intrinsically. Yeah. But I think
that's leadership. It's just basically how you make decisions. So when you have strong leadership, you ask different questions, because you asked me questions and we talked about it, but they were very specific questions. What you bring me, you're already like, here's how I'm thinking about it. Here's what I want to do. Here's why. And then you're like, specific question here. Here's my thoughts here. Am I missing anything here? That's honestly how people ask for coaching for when I was in in coaching spaces where people are like scaling to millions of dollars. They ask for coaching differently. I love hearing that type of coaching. That's how you ask me for coaching.
Yeah, you're 90% of the way there.
Yeah,
you just kind of
need. It's how millionaires ask for coaching. That's how that's what I want to get people to, which is why sometimes in Reclamation it feels a little weird, because I'm just like, people are doing well, but I don't feel like I'm constantly, there are people in crisis and like putting out fires everywhere, and it's because of that aspect. And it's not to say people aren't going to go through stuff, but it isn't like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? It's like, we're going to work through it, but like you brought yourself but every step of the way.
Yeah. And honestly, this was probably the first time that I realized, like, you always hear all the time, like, you have to be 100% responsible for your results. But I really don't think that you really can, unless I don't think that the person can be 100% responsible for the results if you haven't taught them the skill of what it takes to be 100% responsible for the result. If you are selling me a process, this could be in a course, digital product, whatever, or in a big fancy mastermind, or in a big fancy retreat you buy into, or in a membership. It doesn't matter what the container is. If you're selling me a process and then you say you're 100% responsible for results, no, the process is responsible for the results. Like, that's what I'm holding you to. What I appreciated about this mastermind Reclamation was that I don't want to say there was no process to follow. There were guardrails, right? But you were able to be 100% of a result because you learned the skill of what it meant to create your own results. Does that make sense?
Where are you going? Why do you want to go there? Who's going to come into with the car with you? Like, all those things. So it's like, yes, I'm going to guide you on that. But that does mean more, it winds up being more ownership, but you're going to know why you're doing what you're doing forever.
Exactly.
My goal is that you're going to leave this program and just be like, I know how to decide if a product is going to sell, how I would launch it depending on who I'm selling to.
Yes.
Like, that's it's essentially a founder, a serial startup founder. That's how they think. And I want people to leave thinking like a serial startup founder.
Agreed.
I don't care if you want to launch shampoos. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, I want you to be able to go launch a shampoo line if you wanted to, and you would be like, I get it. Like,
yeah, that's exactly how it is. I feel.
I'm not going to use the way that I sold my coaching to sell shampoos. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's, you'll always have that. That's what I want. And also just the internal, like, you're coming to me with your thoughts and wisdom and all of that. And then we're working with that versus the empty vessel. Like, no empty vessels.
That takes someone who understands what it is that they want out of their business. Yeah. And someone who is willing to do the really scary stuff that comes with it. I mean, the only reason why we were able to get here is because I kept reiterating. If you're somebody who's going to show up and then like go hide when the stuff gets tough, like you're just shaving time, like you're just wasting time in the program.
Yeah.
If you're somebody that's going to come in and you're like, I don't really know what I want out of my business, but I just kind of like want to just like live and be free and just have a space that I can maybe tap into every now and then in 5 seconds and talk about business. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. If that's what you want to do. But then like, this is no longer a business program for you. This is more like a life coaching program for you.
Which it can be for some people. They're like, yeah, that was enough for them. And I'm like, great. But I think like you said, being clear on what you want.
Yeah.
Bringing that intention to the program and protocols.
If you want to be a booked out in-demand thought leader, as the messaging so beautifully states,
yes,
you're going to have to be willing to go through all the seasons. And that also means that you're going to probably have to do a lot of unlearning. If you're someone who's not coming into this super green, you're going to have to be willing to do a lot of unlearning, because a lot of what it is that you've learned has been prescriptive, and you're now coming into what it means to be a leader. And that's going to take some time. So
it's going to take a lot of iteration, because I think a lot of the times the reason that people don't get results is because they think that they're taking the actions, but really they haven't even done enough for someone who is already booked out to just maintain the shot, the momentum. But it's like, no, you actually do have to go and come back with like, I did this, I tried this, I did this thing. Hey, here's the questions that I have. It isn't like, oh, well, then I haven't really thought, or like I did a post or I did a thing. And so I think now we're like refining. It's like the folks that are really the ones coming into the program are the ones that are like, I have sold this thing. I know what it is that like I stand for, but like, it's not consistent or like it needs some refining. But that's why we were able to move faster.
Yeah.
And even then it's still when you had to revamp a whole product suite, but
literally
I'll say is I will be there to hold it. And that if I also think if for somebody who doesn't fit a cookie cutter, like they don't really see a lot of people either doing what they're doing or going where they want to go. So it's like, I feel like a lot of mine, I hear the coaching and I'm like, there's a lot of just like outliers. It's just like
that's have so freaking hard.
All the different product suites and all the business models and all the way people get like, it's so different that I'm just like, it has to be leadership. And I have to be able to like wrap my head around. I think about a lot of the times the questions that I get, I feel like a lot of coaches would be like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I think that I coach people who in many spaces would bring a question and the coach would be like, I don't really know about that. I could tell you about this. I don't really have any experience in that. Mm-hmm. But I feel like that you could just bring me anything, because it's like,
that's also
worked there, been there, like something. It's
that's also what takes a lot of time.
It does
too, is that when you really are embodying your leadership and you really are doing something that's different from anything else that's happening right now, it takes so much freaking time to come up with the deliverables, the offer, the angle, the price, the consumer you're going to sell it to. And I'm someone who has a trained degree in how to do this. Mm-hmm. And it took me months to figure, like I literally went to college to learn how to build a product. And it took me months to figure out, what the heck do I sell these people? How do I get them in the door? How do I still align it to my values? How do I sell it in a way that is not just something that's hot on the market or sounds good with a spicy angle, but also something that like is legitimately solving their problem. Those are all things you have to think about. And that takes time to put together. And I can see that now.
Building your forever home or something. Like, it's not to say you're not going to change it later, but I know you also asked yourself questions like, okay, how do I balance needing money now, wanting to make sales now, with building the business model that I actually want to have to support my life?
Yes.
That I wanted to just like ask anything that you haven't shared already that you want to share, because I know that this is also the place where people are just like, I don't want to do this. This is what's important to me in my life. And I'm like, okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
And building around that.
I would say one of the things that was most important to me in my life was, number one, time. I mean, I came into Reclamation in February and everybody knew in Mexico that I hated calls. Yeah. And I was like, I have to build a business where I have no calls. And they were like, calls with who? Calls with certain clients, calls with X, Y, and Z. And I was like, I hate all calls. Like, I need an offer. I need an offer with no calls. Karina always makes fun of me because she's like, can I get a call? Like, it's on my
like, it depends who you're selling. I was like, I want to get on a call to walk through it. So it's like, do you not want calls or do your clients want calls? It doesn't mean it needs to all be calls based. But I know that's another thing. Okay.
Right. So like for my life, I was like, I want to have everything needs to be asynchronous. Then what I learned was that like I can, after sitting with it, I was like, I can do calls. The calls need to, these are the parameters in which I can do calls. And so we've actually, the person who doesn't do calls has added calls. Yeah. And, you know, now it makes sense to have that moment. And it also creates, we've talked about this about in the content retainer. I did not want there to be a wall between me and the clients that I was working with. A lot of times when one of the feedbacks that you hear from people who work with agencies or studios is that they feel external. They don't feel like they are integrated into your business. And I really wanted people to feel that. I never wanted to be an agency with 1,000 clients. I always wanted to work with, you know, mission focused, value centered people. And that meant us getting into the weeds with you. And so, yeah, you can do that asynchronously, say that 10 times, but it really does mean something when you hop on a call with someone and they're just able to just process with you in person. And so I was like, okay, we'll incorporate a call into our content retainer. So now we have a monthly messaging call. You can come to the call. You can get all of your questions answered about your messaging, your offers, your whatever. And then you are able to plan how you want to utilize your hours for the following month so that you get the ROI that it is that you're looking for. And so that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't willing to keep reiterating over time and eventually open myself up to calls. So all of that to say that from a life standpoint, I really wanted to create a business where we could, you know, A, family plan, B, travel, and I could be in 2 places at once. I wanted to be able to hop on one call once a month, you know, if anything, you know, maybe another extra call for a private client. Yeah. And then I wanted to travel and I wanted to be able to do everything through my phone. And so I really built the business that way where I could do that.
And I know you've done that. You've done the traveling. You have the calls for the membership. You have the monthly call for the content retainer. You built that out, but balanced it with, and we need to make money. And I think that that's important, where it's like, it doesn't all have to be you build a business model that's going to make you money temporarily that you then want to burn down in a month or in a few months because it's not really what you wanted. So it's like, takes the iteration, but I think it also takes like you said, being clear on what you want. So okay. If there is anything else, let me know. But if not, this was so good. Like, I feel like you really are like, if somebody listens to this, it's like, is this the right room for you? I hope it would be a lot clearer.
Putting in work over here, y'all.
I know. But thank you so much, Kierra. I love talking to you, as we know from like our DM conversations from before we ever worked together. And I just appreciate you so much. If there's anything else, you know, let me know. But I'm grateful for you being here and just sharing and just like adding so much to the space. I'm so glad you joined. When you said like you initially were just like, I don't know, this is like, I'm not first gen. I don't know about this like feely, like, you know, I don't want to talk this. I'm not here to talk about feelings necessarily. And that was fine. But I love the shift in like, I love the dynamic of the room because it doesn't, I don't always want it to be that either. That doesn't have to always be that. I'm just like, you could come and get your questions answered and we could workshop and we can go back and forth. And like my marketing brain and like creative brain is just felt like, I love our conversations. And I'm really happy to have witnessed your evolution this year and really just seeing you like in your element. And you truly, truly are someone who's like so brilliant and like watches what's happening. And like, I think now you've really honed in on it. I was like, okay, I get what's happening and I'm creating, you're just iterating and creating around it. So I can see it happening in real time. And that's it. I'm grateful, like I said, that you joined, for your time.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here.
It was awesome. Thank you so much for having me.